Welcome to the Dang Good Show. Life as it is already tough. Why not make it a little bit more comfortable and with some fun? Each episode I will deliver straight facts but to inspire positive change so you can live a dang good life. If you want to learn how to be more social and self-aware or just want to hear some great advice with a few laughs, then this show is for you. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm your host, C. Dang, from the beautiful Vancouver, British Columbia in Canada. You can catch me on Instagram at Christine_Dang or my website at c-dang.com. This is episode 11, and I have a guest today on the show, and you probably heard her on episode 3, and I have to tell you, this episode was the most downloaded out of all the episodes I had, and the crazy thing is, I didn't post anything for a year. It was consistent, so it was so nice that you supporters, listeners, or whoever you're sharing this with, I am so grateful for you, because without you, I wouldn't have continued, and I love it. Thank you. So Rosa Tang is here, and
Hello.
her Instagram is
I'm here.
Is at this girl _Rosa. That's ROSA. How are you doing?
It's been a while.
I know.
I can't believe the most downloaded. That's
the most downloaded, the most listened to. Isn't that
You know
crazy?
what's really funny? I was telling my friend the other day, I'm like, oh, I'm going to do a follow-up podcast with my friend.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, it'll be great. I'm like, I don't know if you do too, but I hate the sound of my own voice.
It took me a long time.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know if you're on Hinge. I'm on Hinge. I am, unfortunately on Hinge. And they have this voice prompt thing, and it's really hard to decipher. You want to add like personality to your profile. So I talked on my voice prompt.
Yeah.
And I listened to it, and I was like, ew.
I love your voice. So
Thank
you have
you.
a good voice.
Thank you.
There's some people where you're like, oh my gosh, please stop talking. But you don't have that voice.
Oh,
so I
thank
think
you.
when you do record anything, Hinge, whatever,
Yeah.
don't even think about it.
I get very self-conscious about it.
Because when you record yourself, people can hear that energy. And you have to believe in yourself.
Yeah, it's like the whole public speaking. Like,
Oh my gosh.
I could do that. Talking in front of a bunch of people is not an issue for me.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, in my head, I'll get like, oh, I must have said that. Did that sound right? Does my voice sound, does this sound right?
Yeah, just be yourself. And I
No,
think
of
that's the
course.
way to go.
Yeah.
So the last time we spoke was honestly during the pandemic. It was, I think, March? Spring?
It was probably like the first couple weeks of it.
Yeah, in 2020.
Yeah.
How
It's
are-
2023 now.
I know. Like,
3 years is a long time.
but at the same time, both of us have done so much, which
Yeah.
is so awesome.
Yeah.
And I think that's amazing because I've been watching you, not in a creeper way, but
It's okay if you can crepe.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna get mad. I'm
so
kidding.
It's like you and a bunch of our creative friends, and
Yeah.
I just you guys inspire me so much, and I get in so much awe looking at your stuff, and
That's really
and
sweet.
I love watching you
Aw,
guys.
that's so sweet.
Yeah.
I get like so weirded out when I'm horrible at taking compliments. So I sit there like awkward. I'm like, just say thank you. But yeah, no, since the pandemic, it's been very different.
Yeah.
I think that week when we started doing it, we're like, hey, I just lost my job. And you're like, me too. And I'm like, I think the whole world did. But being closed off to the and forced to stay indoors for those 2 months, I think it added a lot of perspective into things, right? Because it really it forced everyone to kind of slow down and be like, okay, I don't have to work. I'm gonna, bake some sourdough bread, hoard all this toilet paper,
Yeah.
and line up after 9 o'clock because I'm not 65 and older.
Yeah.
But it got to the point where you kind of had to sit there and be like, okay, what next? This is
Yeah.
my opportunity to breathe.
Yeah.
I'm forced to do it.
Yeah.
What am I going to do next? So I kind of told myself, it's like, okay, you always wanted this time. So now you have this time. But a month in, I was like, oh my God, I need to work. I need to work. I need to do something.
Yeah.
Because I think I was just so trained to wake up, work, come home, eat, feed the cat, watch a show, go to bed, repeat.
Yeah, because I know that you're a hard worker. So for someone who works so damn hard and you just stop.
Yeah. It was hard. It was a really big adjustment. And then after, I think I applied for a bunch of jobs. I think at that point I was just like, I need something. I can't rely on, the government to they weren't even paying all of us the amount of money that we were getting paid. So it was like survival mode, right? So I just applied for a bunch of jobs, and I actually landed a job as a producer for BCAA.
Oh,
great organization to work for.
Wow,
great team. I was there for about a little over a year and a half, and then I was like, I need to go somewhere little.
Were you not growing? Is that why?
No, it wasn't. I learned a lot there. I was given a lot of responsibility, which forced me to get kind of out of my comfort zone, which was great. And then it got to the point where I plateaued, and I was very open and very transparent with my manager, and I was like,
good.
And her and I had a really, really good. We still have a really good relationship, and my team. I loved my team. I was like in charge of like three designers and stuff like that. Worked really closely with our director and stuff for stuff, and then it just got to the point where I'm like, I'm not creatively challenged right now. And nothing bad about working there. I've grown a lot from it, but I needed more creative freedom.
I get that.
I had moved on, and then I ended up moving on to like working for an agency that I wanted to work for 5 years. Got a job as a producer there. And then everything was going well, and I think I kind of overdid myself to the point where I burnt out.
No,
I did. Like you said, hardworking. I think it's like the Vietnamese in me, where it's just like keep doing stuff, or else what are you doing?
Are you the type? We're both Vietnamese. For both anyone that wants to know. And BCAA, for those who are not from Canada, it's like an insurance company.
Yeah, so it's like the equivalence, if you're from the States, it's like the equivalence of a CAA, where you pay like a monthly membership, and just in case you get towed or need to get towed or your battery dies or something, you can call that number and they come and pick you up and help you out. And then there's other like perks and stuff, right?
Yeah, and they do Evo. Evo is like a share ride thing, and I use it all the time. I don't have a car, so Evo
I
and
don't
transit,
think a lot. Well, people do own cars in Vancouver and like out in the suburbs, but it's kind of like New York. You don't need one. Yeah, you can get around. Our transit system is pretty awesome.
Yeah, so. I love it. So this year is like, okay, let's pick up the podcast again, only because I actually had people messaging asking when it's going to come back, and I was so surprised because I didn't even do 9-10 episodes. It was just. It doesn't matter.
It's just like and I love that you're doing this, and like I'm so grateful you invited me back on this because I love podcasts and I love talking. So yeah, like I'm not surprised. I'm totally not surprised that people would be like, "Hey, why are you not doing this?" But I totally understand why you kind of need to take a hold on that, because it's like you need to like make a living and kind of sort that out and get it underneath your belt, and then be like, okay. Yeah. I have time now.
Yeah. So 3 years now. Have you gone on vacation since?
So I told you I worked at BCAA, then I moved on to working at an agency, and then I burnt out after, I think I was there for like about 7 months, and I think I was working really long, and it's not like anyone's fault. It was more so me putting all the pressure on myself, where I just wanted to work and get everything done, and it got to the point where mentally I was starting to like deteriorate, but I think I just kept thinking of my dad going, just do it, and I'm like, oh man. And I just kept going to the point where one day I literally just like got up, and I woke up drenched in sweat. I think I was having like a panic attack waking up from that. Yeah. And everything was blurry. I felt so, I don't know, I felt sad and like weak, like I couldn't get out of bed, and I just started bawling.
That's burnt out.
And then I didn't understand what was going on, and I'm like, am I dying? I honestly felt like I don't know if you've ever had a panic attack before.
I had, yeah.
That was the first time I ever had like an actual panic attack where I woke up from it, and like it was almost, because I'm asthmatic as well, so it almost felt like it was like I was having an asthma attack. But
wow.
Yeah, so I felt like I couldn't breathe, and then I just like woke up and then called my therapist and my doctor. I made emergency appointments with them, and I was like, I don't know what's going on. I called off work. I told them I needed the day. Yeah. And then my therapist went through this, like, I guess she went through a series of questions to kind of see. Yeah. And she's like, okay. And I'm like, okay. She's like, I'm writing you a note. You need at least 2 weeks off of work. Oh, wow. You need to like chill. Because she's like, your nervous system is like out of whack right now. Yeah. And it doesn't know what to do. So it's like, over regulating parts of your body and then like making you confused, and like she's like, you just need to chill.
Yeah, it's crazy that the mind is such a powerful tool, and people don't, when there's so much thoughts going on in your head and you put too much pressure on yourself, and we are our own worst critic.
Of course.
Our nervous system gets shut down. I had like, I think it was 2000, this is years ago. I've overcome it, but I used to have a series of panic attacks.
I can't even imagine. Like I had that one, and I was just like, I felt distorted, disoriented, and I was like, I literally looked at my cat, and she looked at me. She's like, "What the hell's going on with you, Mom?" And I'm like, "I think I'm dying." I felt like I was dying.
Yeah.
And then I just kind of had to like, thank goodness, and I don't know if anyone. I think you're the one who told me about meditation and stuff.
Yeah.
So I started walking through the whole like Headspace stuff.
Oh, good.
And this is not. We're not sponsoring them. I'm just telling you the app that I use. And like Headspace was such a savior, because I literally had to sit there and like walk myself through one of the meditations and like calm my breathing down, because I was over panicking.
I am so happy you brought this up, because anyone that follow me on Instagram, I cannot stop talking about it. And I would always keep on mentioning it to anyone who has similar issues. Yeah. And so did you go through the basic 1, 2, 3?
I went all the way from like the beginning and doing like a 2-minute one all the way to like doing 20 minutes of meditation, and like being able to like really sit and allow things to come in and out of my head, my thoughts, without it interrupting like me being in my own space.
Good. So. It's like one of the only apps I'm willing to pay over $100 for.
Yeah. So
no problem.
I renewed it. So this is free advertising for you, Headspace. I love you.
Please sponsor us or sponsor me.
But seriously, like if anyone has any, and I suffer from like seasonal depression, also clinical anxiety, and I also suffer from body dysmorphia. So there's a lot of like mental things that I'm working through also. So that and journaling actually really helped a lot.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. I can't talk Headspace. It's so good. And I have to do it right in the morning. Only because when I say, I'm going to do it later, I'm not going to do it later.
It's like working out.
Yeah. I do everything in the morning.
Me too. Because by the time I'm done working, I'm like, I don't even want to feed my cat. Like, that's how tired I am.
Yeah, I'm so glad that worked out for you. And it's nice. I love hearing that.
Yeah.
Therapy is so expensive.
It is.
Right?
It is.
And then having like a meditation there who guides you, also very expensive.
Yeah.
And I just love the prompts. I love that he just kind of narrates, and he'll be like, if you're feeling this way, it's normal. Yeah. And then you're like, oh my God, that's exactly what I'm feeling. Yeah. So it's amazing.
For sure.
Yeah. I highly recommended.
Yeah.
Downloaded Headspace. I think it's a 7-day trial, free trial. Try it for.
They even have it on Netflix too.
What?
Yeah, you can sit there. I put it on TV, like on the TV. Oh. And then they have like those guided ones where like up until like I think like level 3 or something, where it's like you're at like 10 or 15 minutes in.
I kind of wish right now 20 minutes is the max. I kind of wish they had a 30 and 40-ish.
Yeah.
Just to see. I only do 20 now. Sometimes it is really hard to keep to 20.
I know 20 is just like 20. Like I can actually, I've practiced for so long now that I kind of mastered 20. So 20 is like my minimum.
Yeah.
But I've tried. I think the longest I went was 50 minutes. And then the smoke alarm went off in my building, or like the fire alarm went off, and I'm like, of all times, I could have went for the whole hour. And then after that, it was just like 20 minutes. And then my brain is kind of a peanut sometimes. So like, okay, I'm bored. Let's go.
All right. So what are you doing now?
So after I took some time off, I took like a couple months off of just life and just took some time for myself before getting back into the workforce. So after that, I started freelancing full time. And then it was nerve-wracking because I had always freelanced on the side while working a full-time job, just because it's stability, right? Yeah. And then like I said, like overachiever, perfectionist. So I was like, okay, I can do extra things. And then like, that's how I burnt myself out.
Yeah.
So now I was at a point where it was nerve-wracking because it's like, okay, well, that stability of like, you know, monthly checks or biweekly checks coming in, your insurance covered for you and benefits and all that stuff, like that's down the drain. Now you got to really like take care of yourself. So I started oh man, I was so scared. I was probably so scared. I'm like, well, I can dip into my savings, but at the same time, it's like, how long is my savings going to last me for, right? Everyone was applying for jobs at this time too still. So I just kind of like trusted the universe, and I was like, okay, I'm going to let people know that I'm like in the industry that I know of, or friends of mine, and let them know like, hey, I've decided like now I'm starting my own business to be a full-time freelancer, and if you have any work coming in, like let me know. If you need me to consult, let me know, kind of thing. And the crazy part was, from doing that, so many people ended up reaching out because we're like, which is so great, because I never look at myself in that way where I'm just like, I'm just here to do a job. Yeah. But I didn't realize like the relationships that I've built over the years. Like I've been in advertising and marketing for like 12, 13 years now.
Crazy, yeah.
So it's like weird to know that even people that I worked with at the beginning when I first started my journey in like 2010, 2011.
Seems so far away.
Still, yeah, I know. I was like a baby. We were all babies back then. Oh my God, that was so long ago. That's over a decade. Holy crap. But it was so nice and humbling to know that they're like, hey, Rosa Tang, you're still doing shit? Like, cool. We'll let you know if something happens. And like literally they're like, hey, we need a producer for something that came up. We need you for like 2 weeks, sign a contract, let's go. And I'm like, and then a bunch of them started coming through, and then it just kind of like worked out. I was so scared of it not working out.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I was very, very like lucky. So yeah.
So what did motivate you? What motivated you to take the extra step to just, I'm gonna do it, no more?
I've always wanted to freelance. I always envied my friends that did it full time, because I was like, you know, you get to work, you have the luxury of being able to work remotely anywhere, and then you pick and choose your schedules, you pick and choose your clients. So it gave you a lot of creative freedom and freedom in general. And I was just so scared, and everyone's like, why aren't you doing it? I'm like, I don't know, I just like the comfort of like having.
But you're so hard on yourself too.
I am. Great work. I'm so hard on myself. I don't like looking at my work. I'm just like, ew, let's not, like, I did it, let's not talk about it. The worst. But then like, yeah, I just kind of ended up working out. So
that's great.
Yeah.
And okay, so what is your company called, first off?
Okay, so since then, I was freelancing, and then one of my friends that I've been friends with, he moved to Vancouver from Australia, like I don't know how much long ago, but we've been friends for about like 5 or 6 years.
Oh, that's nice.
And I hired him when I worked at a hospitality group for a bunch of like shoots and stuff. And he helped me create content, and we've kept in touch, and it got to the point where we're working on 3 clients together. And then during like from this year, from July to maybe November, my mental health kind of just, even though things were going great, it like my depression, I was going through like a wave of depression. I didn't know where it was coming from. It literally came out of nowhere, and it got to the point where I was just like consistently sad, couldn't get out of bed, like, and then, you know, as contracts come and go, I was like, this isn't like as stable as I wanted it to be. And it also made me feel like I felt defeated. Like I kept going back in my head, like, you didn't let that job, that dream job of yours at the agency work out. You let your mental health get in the way. So I felt so much shame from that, and I think I carried it on, and it made me so sad for a while. And he just like, one day we went out for drinks, and he's just like, Rosa, we've been talking about this for so long. He's like, why don't we just make our own agency? And I looked at him, I'm like, really? And he's like, why not? He's like, we both have the experience, we both have the connections, like, let's just do it. And if it doesn't work out, then we're still gonna be friends.
Oh
and
my
I was
God,
like,
I'm getting goosebumps just
and I was
this.
like, fuck yeah. So then literally at the beginning of the year, we just went full head, and then we got all our corporations and stuff, and all the I's dotted and T's crossed. So now we have this little creative production company or studio or agency. Thank you.
Yeah. And so wait, what's the name?
Oh, it's called Disruptor. We're a Disruptor Creative Group.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh,
and the funny thing is, the name came up from we were sitting at Dave's apartment, and I'm like, what do we call ourselves? But I'm like, I wanted to resonate with what we do. And he was like, hey, actually, this idea of disrupt. And it was he's like, it was on one of my shirts. He had like an All Saints shirt. He's like, it says disrupt on it. I was like, well, we kind of are like disruptors, because we like to do things creatively in our own way. And that's what a disruptor is. So we just kind of went with it.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Like what you hear so far? Make sure you never miss a show by clicking the subscribe button right now. This podcast is made possible by listeners like you. Thank you so much for your support. On Instagram, follow me at Christine_Dang, where I share aha moments and a few laughs. And lastly, if you want to find out more information about the show, visit thedangoodshow.com. Let's get back to the show.
Yeah.
Now, with your new company, what visions for the both of you guys do you have for this? Like, what is the end goal?
Like what? Like, am I looking down like 10 years, 5 years from now kind of thing?
You know, it's more like I feel like goals is something that it's always changing.
Yeah.
I think what I meant is like the end goal is like how in 20 years from now, when you come back and look up at yourself and be like, this is exactly where I need to be.
With the company?
Vision. Yeah.
I definitely want us within like, say, 20 years from now when I like retire, hopefully sooner than that. I want to retire by the time I'm 45.
Yes, me too.
And I'm 38. I'm turning 38, so that's not a lot of time, but
oh my God.
Wishful thinking. 50 at the most. But just saying, to look back at that point where, you know, I kind of let go and just be like, I'm retiring and really gonna go and travel the world and see things. I would love to have seen that we've expanded from like Vancouver and like to Toronto, New York, LA, and somewhere in like in the UK in London or something. Like I want us to be at that point in like 15 years or so.
That'd be cool.
To just, and like the whole point of this company was us to bring in a house of really like amazing and great creatives, and taking our, like, you know, we also like look at it as like a learning collective. We all challenge each other, because everyone that's joined us so far are specialized in their own craft, and we like, you know, we praise people for that, because you know, as a creative, it's really hard out there
to be your free
to not to like take criticism, to not take it personally, to like be able to take that constructively and learn from it and apply it so that you make yourself better, and to also be able to feel heard, seen, and all that stuff too, right? So I just want our company to be able to foster that and allow people to, even if they don't even stay with us, I want them to be like, I worked there, I learned so much, and I'm going to take that and like move forward from
basically taking a bunch of creatives with you and learn along the way while you build them into leaders in their own sense.
Exactly. Yeah. Like I don't intend, you know, if people end up staying with us till the end, like that's amazing. But if people leave, like I understand, because I had to leave some places at some point so that I can take all the skills that I learned there and apply it to something that's a lot more challenging in that sense. So yeah, nice. I want to leave a legacy back for the creatives that are able to join and make some cool, fun, creative things.
So now with your company, what will you be doing mainly? So you have you and David.
So Dave's the CEO. We were trying to talk about titles, and I'm like, well, we need like a CEO. I'm like, I think because he was the one, I was like, you initiated this, like you should definitely be CEO. He's like, what about you? I'm like, if you look at it that way, I was like, well, the next person would be like a CCO, which is like Chief Creative Officer, which sounds real. I'm not really into titles and stuff, but Dave and I just needed to do that because it just made sense. So, but interchangeably, like we oversee every project, and like we lead a group of people together.
All right. And this is something that I know a lot of people have had questions for. So describe how your business works. So say I'm your client. I have a podcast.
Yep.
I need something. I need to reach out, whatever it is. I have no idea what I'm doing.
So say, for instance, you came and you're like, I want to start a podcast. Then Dave and I would sit down with you and have like a discovery call and say like, okay, what do you want to talk about? What are your goals for this, like this podcast? Where do you see it in the next like 2, 5, and 10 years? And then we kind of sit there and assess it. We take some information, and then we come up with like kind of packages and plans, and we present it to you. We're like, okay, we think this is the way it should be. We'll present it XYZ, and we're like, you know, we recommend, and we'll put like packages together. So we'll do like a smaller package to start off with, something a little bit more medium, which like we add a little bit more things onto it, and then we have like the Maserati one if you want to start off with. But usually with people that kind of start with us, we make it affordable for them too, right? Because we understand we're all trying to survive out there.
So package deals, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And then from that, once you sign on, then we have like an onboarding thing. You meet your team that you're going to be working with. We talk about like the next, like we'll do it in phases, and we'll talk about the phases, and then we'll execute. And then after the one phase is done, we'll do a report on it. We'll meet with you, and we're like, hey, this is where we're at. This is what we want to project to. This is what we recommend. And then we align as a team with you. And then we move forward all until phase 3, which is usually about like the 3-month mark. And then we sit down and we're like, okay, overview of everything that's happened. This is how you perform. This is the recommendations that we recommended. And if you want to continue, then these are new packages, kind of thing. And at some point, like, it's not about, we want to make sure that whoever, like our clients that we're dealing with, feel like they're very a part of it. Because I've worked in agencies where you have the client come in and the client's like, okay, they're like, well, we're paying you. We want you guys to handle it. And then when we do it, and then we meet again, they're like, well, why didn't you inform us? And blah, blah, blah. We're like, well, we kind of, you told us to just take it from you and not worry and stuff like that, right? So
with that, so do you guys create like, so when you do present like, this is where we're at, blah, 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 is it like a ROI thing, KPI thing? Like, well, how do you guys?
We kind of like
sales?
Sit there. No, we do like a full report. So say if there's like, if we're monetizing your podcast on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, or whatever the case is, we always go on the back end and kind of observe and see how things are going, like how it trends, how it's performing, and if we need to like sit there and be like, okay, well maybe we should do some, ad sales on it, or display ads for Google or like Instagram and stuff like that, just so that we boost the awareness of it, so that people that you want it to reach will reach and like know more about it. So it kind of boosts up like what's going on and the performance. And then we obviously won't do that until we talk to you and say like, hey, is that okay? Do you want to do that?
That's good.
And then so on and so forth. And then we get to the point where at the end of usually at the beginning, we'll sign like a 3-month retainer with somebody to test out. And if all goes well, then we have a discussion like, what's your budget at? Where do you want to go? Like, we always want to make sure that we're able to offer the amount of, results that a client would want. But we also have to be mindful of their budgets as well, right? So we don't want to like overpromise and like underperform. We want to be like, this is what's happening, this is what's going on, and there's no surprises.
That's good. I this is something I always tell our clients. When you are giving service to your customers, the one thing is that they don't want to look stupid, right?
No, of course not.
You have to educate them. The more you educate, the more you build trust.
Of course.
So I love the take that you guys are going at, because yeah, you're right. A lot of times, people go into an agency, they have no idea what's going on. They're not the expert in their field. So when they don't get, so people bill them and all that stuff, they don't have no idea what they're paying, but they're paying for it, and then they had nothing to come out of it. I used to be a freelancer to build websites. And this one client came in and was like, I paid $30,000 for this website. I have like, no idea what's going on. And when I looked at it, I was like, this is very Mickey Mouse. And most of it doesn't even work.
And unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there that will take advantage of people, which is so unfortunate. So it leaves those clients very vulnerable, and then they don't end up going back with those people. So like, they're just looking for other people, and say they land in our laps. They're super like, we get them in the worst condition, because they're like super like guarded, walls up, and they're like, oh, we don't understand why this would cost this much. And I'm like, well, and that's also a really big thing when you talk about education, Because building a website, they're like, oh, it's easy. You could move this. You could do that. I'm like, no, it's not that easy to put a drop down there.
Yeah.
And if you want to add like another page when you click onto as a click through, that's a whole another like code in its own, right? So it's a lot of time that goes into it. So it's also about educating your clients from the get-go. I mean, like, okay, this is what you want. This is your budget. This is what we can do with the budget. And let's like save that for like next round.
Yeah.
And if it's necessary, then we'll talk about it. But let's get the basics done first.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's crazy. Yeah. It's mind blowing. And again, people come to you because they don't know anything. You're the experts. And this is something, tell clients over and over again, like, you just can't expect people to buy things from you when they have no idea who you are, and you haven't even gained any trust from them, because like if you don't educate, talk about who you are and what you do and what you guys really do believe, because people sell on emotion and the story that you sell. Yeah. So that's why Apple, for example, does so well, because they talk about the why they do it, right? And then people have that connection. Let's just wait for that.
I was like, I see a shadow. You guys can't see.
Yeah.
There's a doorway near a balcony, and I saw a shadow, and I was like, what's something hard that I can throw at this person in case they come and
I
attack?
also wanted to note that this is the first in-person interview that I actually done on the podcast, so which is so nice, because usually it's always on webinar or whatnot.
Oh, that's true.
Even with my old work, when I'm interviewing someone, it's always just like online.
I didn't realize. This is very nice.
And I like this because I can actually see you.
Well, like in person. See you on the screen, but still it's different.
And energy doesn't lie. I mean, energy you can feel. You can do anything online, but person definitely does help.
Yeah, no, for sure.
All right, so it's funny. I wrote a bunch of questions, and Rosa's so good at answering them that she answered all of them without me even going through this. Okay, now
I just talk a lot. I'm sorry.
No, it's not at all. Don't be sorry. I love it. Now, I know this is something that you love. Who or what inspires you?
Who or what? Oh man, that's so many things.
Who gets you up? What gets you up? Motivates you to do what you do and have that creative drive and your vision?
Oh man, I think it's my clients, really. Like, it's one thing to, take them on, and they depend on you to like really, because they're trusting you with like a goal and an outlook and like a story, right? And they're also trusting you with money. So I never want to I have this, it's a perfectionist kind of thing, but I never want to let anyone down. I try my best and do my best. And I'm very transparent and vocal about like if things aren't kind of going sideways, or like before it even gets to that point, like I'm very transparent. I'm like, hey, we should talk now. We should talk about this before it goes sideways. And
that's the only way to go. Really, I feel like now people are more closed up, if anything.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like, and then there's a lot of assumptions. Yeah. And then with those assumptions, there's disappointment, right? Because you're expecting something, but the thing is, like, what are you expecting when you never talked about it?
Another thing that kind of inspires me is like, I guess like I know everyone says this is like probably a really weird thing to say, but traveling.
Yeah.
Traveling, like, no offense, Vancouver. I've lived here for most of my life.
Yeah.
I wish we were a little bit more of a creative city.
We are, though.
Are we?
We have a lot of creative people here.
We have a lot of creative people.
Yeah.
I don't feel like there's a lot of vessels for creative people to kind of express themselves. I feel like the city's slowly getting better. Like, we have the mural festival. We have a lot of, like, but I feel like, and I always say this, everyone that knows me, they're like, oh my God. I always say I was born here, but my heart lived in New York somehow.
Oh, that's me in LA. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just like, even LA too, it's got a very crazy like community of like different shows.
You're
and, like,
right. Artists. I always go to artists shows down there and I get freaking mind blown.
Yeah.
All in San Francisco.
Yeah. And even like, and I say this to all my friends that I go to New York, like I go with. I'm like, I feel like every corner you turn, there's like some sort of like someone's drawn something on chalk on the floor, and it's this huge mural, or there's a mural on the wall, or like you turn the corner and grab coffee, and next door to it, it's like a free exhibit of a local artist.
Oh,
like that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
right. It's just Vancouver is still on its way there.
It's slow.
It's not quite there yet.
Yeah, I think like I had to give it to Vancouver though. We are the smallest city I know. Like, we're such a small city.
We are a very
young city.
We are very young.
And it's interesting because a lot of people who are from Chicago, New York, or anywhere that it's a huge city, they come here. They're like, "Wow, you guys have a lot of skyscrapers." I'm like, "What do you mean?" You're like, I've never seen a downtown that has so many tall buildings. I'm like, "What do you mean? You're from New York. There's so many tall buildings." They're like,
no, they're not, because in the way they're built out there is the financial district is the only area that has those high
Interesting.
buildings. But then everywhere else, they have a limit as to how many floors they're allowed in a building.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So like most New York apartments, they won't go any further up than 4-story walk-ups.
Interesting. Why is that? Now you don't have to answer, obviously.
I don't know.
You're not a history building.
I don't know. I think it's just because they don't want to ruin the skyline.
Interesting. Oh,
I hope so. I don't know. New York, don't get mad at me, but it's just like, I don't know. I think that's how it is. They just conjugate it towards like one specific area, so it doesn't like distort. There's so much going on in New York. It's so beautiful there. I want to go back.
I haven't been.
You need it. Okay, girl, we need to go together.
I know. And this is something.
Then you'd be like, LA. Why LA? My sister lives in LA. I love LA. I grew up in LA, going there all the time during the summertime because my sister got married and moved there since I was like 15. And I love it there. I love the beach. That's the only thing I would miss if I were to ever move to New York. I don't care what anyone says. Coney Island is not a beach. It's an island.
Yeah, I'm going to Hawaii in a couple of days. And
are you really?
Yeah, it's my first time going. It's my first real vacation in 3-4 years.
I've never. Where are you going? Like what island are you going to?
Oh my gosh. Ahu? I am so sorry, Hawaii. Waikiki. I'm going to
Oahu. Oh my.
I don't even try. Honolulu. That's where I'm going. This is my first time. I'm so sorry, guys.
Who are you going with?
I'm going with my sister, but we're going there with. We're meeting a bunch of family from LA there. It's for a
That's
wedding.
so nice.
Our wedding. So yeah, first real vacation. And when I tell people this, they're like, "But you went to LA. You went to Edmonton." I'm like, visiting family does not count.
It doesn't count
because like I'm there all the time, and like it's just being home, really.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's first real vacation, but New York. Anyone that knows me really well, either went to Tokyo, New York, and they're like, Christine,
why haven't you been?
That's your that's where you belong.
I think once you go, you're gonna be like,
that's the thing. So I'm waiting. So for me, in my heart, I want to be able to go there and spend a month there. So yeah, if New York is something that we can do,
I'll let you know.
Oh my God.
I'll definitely let you know. It'll be easier to find an apartment if you want to just go for a month or two. So
yeah, definitely a month. I'm down for a month. Okay, so blah, 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 blah. Okay, this is something I think we talked about this in our last episode. But then we rushed, but we talked about something else right away because we had so much to talk about.
Yeah.
Okay, when it comes to your creative work, how do you describe your style?
Very clean. I'm such a nitpicky person.
Like black, white, clean.
Like minimal,
lines.
like monochromatic for sure. I'm a stickler for like typography and like the weight of something. If the text or the font looks like it's too light or it's too heavy, I pick that out really quickly.
Okay, you're gonna definitely be my auditor for any of my other stuff in the future.
So I literally look, I'm like, that font is off from that font.
Yeah.
That's not even the same one.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, that's great. I think we're the more I hear you talk, we're very similar. I'm very OCD.
I think it's a very Vietnamese thing too.
Yes and no. I think creative Vietnamese, yes. Yeah. Because there's a lot of Vietnamese people and you're like, huh?
Do your parents even understand when you started saying like you're creative? They're like, what?
Dude, when I did, yeah, no, they didn't understand it. I'm like, oh, I'm a creative contenter before my full-time job. And they're like, what the heck is that? So they see me making videos, they see me doing photography, they see me doing all this stuff and then building websites, all this stuff. They're like, and then the more they saw it, the more they're like, oh. And then once my Instagram went from 9 to 7,000, they're like, oh. And then more people start bringing me up in conversation because their friends saw my work. And that's when they finally accepted after 2 years of me busting my ass because they're like, you know what? I don't know what you're doing, but you do whatever you do. But now they're just like all talking to their friends about whatever I'm doing.
That's so funny because they're always just like, just make sure you pay your bills and you can eat and I don't have to worry about you, then you're fine.
Yeah.
But my parents were like that too. My dad was just like, what are you? I'm like, I'm a producer. He's like, what do you produce? I'm like, commercials?
Yeah.
Like photo shoots? He's like, who cares? I'm like, you know that commercial that's in between while you're watching hockey? He's like, yeah. I'm like, I'm part of those kind of teams. He's like, oh, it's not the computer? I'm like, no.
Because we're on the computer making it.
Yeah.
But that's so funny.
Parents,
That's really it. Thank you for joining me on The Dang Good Show. Make sooure you visit my website, thedangoodshow.com, where you can subscribe to the show on Apple, Google, or Spotify, or wherever it is, just so you'll never miss an episode. While you're at it, if you find valuable information on the show, I would greatly appreciate it if you can give me a thumbs up and a good ratings on iTunes or whichever platform you're listening from. But even if you simply tell a friend about the show, that would totally help me out too. Thanks again for tuning in. I'm C Dang, signing out. I'll catch you next time.